Hi, my name's Kevin Hicks and welcome to my YouTube channel, The History Squad. Now in today's film, we're going to be talking about Adolf Hitler and how he was found guilty of treason for his involvement in the 1923 failed Munich Beer Hall Putsch. So the Beer Hall Putsch in Munich, the 8th and 9th of November 1923. Well, actually, this is more about the myth of Adolf Hitler. And what happened with the Munich Putsch is it gave him a platform, to actually accelerate himself into kind of stardom, if you like. So, for a start off, he was the ringleader for sure. But the guy he had with him, the famous guy, was the General von Ludendorff from the First World War. Highly respected. He also has Hermann Goering, the fighter ace from the First World War. Yeah, so there is some high-profile people here. So what happens, they've got hundreds of their Nazi followers and they're going to seize control of a mass meeting in one of the beer halls of Munich. And they march in and armed guards are all around. Von Ludendorff, he's there, he marches in. Hitler fires 1 or 2 shots into the ceiling, shouting, "Silence, silence!" You know, this guy's already there, isn't he, with his loud mouth. And it's all going to plan until they kidnap some of the dignitaries that are in there, members of the Bavarian government, put them in a room to the side, and then Hitler makes the mistake of leaving the beer hall. And von Ludendorff lets the dignitaries go. Yeah, they will not support Hitler. They are saying this was an armed insurrection. Yeah, well, the next day, Hitler seizes control of the situation. And with von Ludendorff, they say, come on, let's march into the center of Munich. Which is fine, except they've all got guns. And as they march into the centre, they are met by the Bavarian police. And nobody knows who fired first. But 4 police officers are shot dead, and 16 Nazis, I think, fall to the ground dead. And then an innocent bystander, a guy who was just on his way to work. Now, if we just finished it there, yeah, Hitler was there, he was in the front and all that kind of stuff. If we just finished it there, it sounds great, doesn't it? But I've got another piece to add on to this. The march into town. Hitler is arm in arm with one of his men, Max Schubner, if I remember correctly is his name. As they're marching forward and all the gunfire opens, Schubner falls dead to the ground, bringing Hitler with him. And he either dislocates his elbow or his shoulder. And this is a twist in the tale, because just around the corner was a little yellow Fiat motor car, engine ticking over, door open, with a driver waiting for Adolf Hitler. He had an escape plan. So he runs away and leaves everybody to it. Hermann Goering, by the way, was shot twice, once in the thigh and once through the groin. He will never recover from those wounds. They will affect him for the rest of his life. Meanwhile, Adolf Hitler, he's driven away, supposedly trying to escape to Austria, but fails. And he is caught a couple of days later in an attic of a friend of his. He was dressed in white pajamas with a blue dressing gown, if I understand. But an interesting comment from General von Ludendorff. He called Hitler a coward for running away. So Hitler is captured. He is taken straight to Lansberg prison, but he was given a cell number 5, and it had a good aspect. He could see out and he had lots of privileges. He's not been found guilty yet. He's just being detained. Now his trial, 26th of February 1924, it begins. I can tell you it's a setup. So the trial of Adolf Hitler begins. I find it really interesting because the judge was George Neithardt, if I've pronounced that correctly. He'd already known Adolf Hitler because Adolf Hitler had been up in front of him in 1922 for violent disorder. And he'd been found guilty and he was going to be sentenced and all that kind of stuff. But the judge got it reduced to just a fine and then got it scrubbed anyhow. So Adolf Hitler is being put on trial for treason, but the judge already knows him, and the judge is already actually on his side. The prosecutor there, Hans Erhardt, he actually says that this was the heart and soul of this whole proceeding was Adolf Hitler. So let's have a little look, shall we, into what happened in the trial. So Adolf Hitler's speech, yeah, his opening speech in this trial, which is going to last for weeks, yeah, 4 hours long, and one of the witnesses there said he dazzled the spectators with the way he spoke. 4 hours, that's some going, isn't it? The first part was his version of his life story. Now you notice I say his version, yeah. He then goes on to the politics, and he lambasts, you know, his enemy like the communists. He calls them less than human. He talks about how the Weimar Republic, you know, of their politics is with the palm branch, you know, the peace, whereas it should be with the sword. Hitler goes on and on and on, and how he has the German people's lives at his heart. The future of Germany is in his hands, in his heart. And people listen to it, but there's a thing that's kind of missing, and this is often missed. Half of the seats in this courthouse, and I understand there was 200 of them, are from the world press. And Adolf Hitler's speech is reported around the world. That speech, this trial, made Adolf Hitler famous. So the trial lasts until the 27th of March 1924. Von Ludendorff, he gave a speech after Hitler, 3 hours, but apparently he rambled. He blamed the Marxists and the government and the church, lots of things like that. Other people, of course, they gave their speeches. But on the 27th of March, it was Hitler's final speech. And it's incredible what he's allowed to say. And I'm going to just read you just a tiny little bit of this last speech. He predicted that the hour will come when the masses who stand in the streets under our swastika flag will unite with those who fired on us on November the 8th. The army has formed and is growing day by day. Do you know, his words moved a number of people in the courtroom to tears. This I find incredible, because they have given Adolf Hitler a stage. But they're going to have to wait till the 1st of April for sentencing. Hitler is found guilty of treason. Yeah, life sentence or a minimum of 5 years. So Hitler is sentenced, yeah, 1st of April, April Fool's Day, love that, to the minimum sentence for treason. But interestingly, in the trial, they didn't talk about the 4 police officers who were killed. They didn't talk about the innocent bystander who was killed and the dozens upon dozens of people who were wounded. They didn't talk about the amount of assaults on the Jewish population in Munich on the night of the Putsch. None of that was actually mentioned. Yeah? No mention of armed insurrection, right? So Hitler is given 5 years, the minimum, the bare minimum. He is taken to Lansberg prison, where he has cell number 5, which has this corner section he can see out. He's allowed to wear his own clothes. He's allowed to have visitors. He can mix with the other prisoners. He has his breakfast served at his table by his friends. Get out of here. But what he does when he's at Lansberg prison is he practices. He practices to be the Führer. He models himself on Benito Mussolini. This was one of the things that drove him. Yeah, he practices in front of the mirror. But most importantly, he actually writes, or he dictates, his famous book. I've got a copy here, only for the students. Yeah, this is for educational only. I didn't buy this because I'm a supporter. He writes Mein Kampf, My Struggle. Yeah, and it was Rudolf Hess, his assistant, who helped him write this. This volume 1 was written while he was in the prison. He's released after 9 months, and his book becomes a bestseller. In fact, this book makes Adolf Hitler a millionaire. But that's for another story. But it's interesting, isn't it? He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but he only does 9 months. And later on, he is actually pardoned. When he left, there was a car waiting for him, and the governor of the prison shook his hand. There's more to this, isn't there? So, I hope you enjoyed our video there, or at the very least found it interesting. I find it very intriguing. And when I'm doing webinars to schools about the rise of the Nazis and things like this, I really do dig in. So I do hope you found it interesting. If you did, thumbs up. And if you're a subscriber already, hey, thanks a million. If you're not a subscriber, then subscribe. Ding that bell and join in the comments, the forum of history that we've got going on here. We're loving it. But for now, bye for now.